Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. My name is Chris, and today we're going to be working on the train tunnel in the LEGO City. So let's get started. Alright, so that train tunnel is pretty much done, but I did take apart this one in one of my more recent videos. So if you haven't checked out that video yet, I'll put that in the top right for you to check out. But I had it was about, let me grab the piece of it here. It was about here, and I wasn't a fan of it. It didn't look right to me, and so I want to just start from scratch. I want to redo it. I don't think it'll fit this way just because of the Orient Express and how wide it is. So I have to kind of figure it out. Maybe I could bring it out a little bit and then I would have to shift the train bridge. But I guess we'll see. I'm going to play it by ear. I'm going to actually take this base plate out and put it on my new build table, which I'm super excited about. So I'm going to take out this base plate and probably this one here as well, just to kind of see how that all works. But let me bring that over there and I'll show you guys what I'm working with. All right, so the corner plate here with the curve track is now on my desk here, and well, this just feels really good to have a place to actually sit down and work on this instead of, hunching over the city. But I brought the front of the locomotive of the Orient Express as well because I want to see, like, this is my concern here. This buffer is sticking out just a little too much, and so I don't know if I could actually have an arch there. I'll have to brick build it and actually test it out. So I'm gonna end up trying that, and I'm gonna wait to fill in this area here just because I'm gonna need to bring one of the coaches from the Orient Express as well, because that overhangs on the inside, whereas this buffer hangs out over the outside of the curve. So I need to figure out how big I need to make this opening here, and then if I need to use these individual arches or I can use the big arches, the one piece that's I think 12 studs long that I used for the other tunnel, which is already in the city. All right, so really quick, I just threw a bunch of bricks together here in a stack to see if the Orient Express hits it, and it actually doesn't. It does come really close, but even if I kind of push on it to stick it out a little more, it still doesn't hit, which is good. So normally when it would come around the track, it would just glide right by it, no problem. And so that's awesome. Actually, I actually didn't think that that was going to happen. So that's cool. This, ignore all this in the background, by the way. These are the pieces for the custom ATTEs from Brick Vault that go with the dropship. And so, well, this is actually only some of it. It's not even close to all of the pieces that we've gathered so far. So just keep that, just ignore that. But yeah, so I just need to grab the passenger coach and also see the amount of overhang on the inside of the curve here, and then I can map out where the other pillar is going to be, and then that should be fine. I could also bring this up one if I so choose, but I'm going to base that on whether or not it works over here for the inside, because this still works for that as well. So that's great. So I'm going to bring the other pieces over. I'm going to build like a little wireframe for it, and then we'll go from there. I would have loved to have had this at an angle. I think that could look really, really awesome. But unfortunately, that's just not possible with the constraints that I have in here. I could maybe make it work, but if this on-grid bridge here, it like works out, then I'm just going to go with that and just keep it simple. And then I can tile over the top, put some rock panels on it, and then we can keep going up and keep building the mountain. But for now, I still have to test it first, but I'm going to roll with that. All right, so I brought the other plate over here with the bridge on it, and I made a column of random pieces here that is equidistant from the train tracks like this one is. And so as you guys can see, it is the piece of track ends here on this stud where my finger is, and then there is the extra piece of ballast where my finger is now, and then there's two studs, and then the post here, and it's the same on the other side. So the track ends there, the ballast ends there, there's two rows of studs, and then the wall here. And so if I come around this way for you, you can see that the coach here, it just barely makes it, and so it does clip it on occasion, and so I'm not really sure what to do, because if I move it back one that way, I don't have the option to make it equidistant on this side, because then that would be on a new base plate, which doesn't exist because this sits at the edge of the table. So I don't really know what to do there, but it doesn't clip it all of the time, and so I might just leave it as it is. I don't know. If you guys have any feedback for me on that, drop a comment down below. I would love to hear what you guys have to say about it. But I do think, obviously I know that these are different heights. That will change, don't worry. But this was just to kind of gauge the width that I would need. And so I think it might work out, because when this goes by, it does graze it, but once this gets a bunch of rocks around it and it's all like clipped together, I think it'll look fine. So I'm not super worried about it, to be honest with you. So I think I'm actually going to go ahead with this, and I could also move it up 2 studs if I really wanted to. I could put it here, and then I could put this one over here, but that would help it a bunch, but I don't know if that's something I want to do, if I want to have part of the train tunnel on this base plate and part of it on that base plate. So that's something that I need to think about. And so if you guys have any feedback for me, also drop a comment down below on that. But I'm going to sit on this for a little bit, and then I'm going to start building the train tunnel here and some of the rock work over there to kind of help blend it in, and we'll take it from there. All right, so a lot's happened since the last clip. I moved this back to the other base plate. I started working on it a little bit, and this was kind of what I had come up with here. This is only half of it, but this was in order to use these this style of arch here. It's not wide enough for the opening here, and so for the clearance for the train on either side, and so I had to go in and make a little bit of an extra arch to it. So I used some 1x2x3 slopes and some 1x2x2 slopes. They don't make these in inverted. They do these, but I didn't have any. I couldn't find any at the time, so I just kind of left it as it was. And yeah, I think this actually didn't even look that bad. And then I just kind of had it like this, and then I put that arch piece that I had just showed you on it. And I was really overcomplicating it, and I wasn't loving it. It wasn't really working for me. So I'm back to the drawing board once again here, and I'm trying to see if I can use these arches here, and then just kind of leave it here, and then we can bring it back to the edge of the base plate here, make that its own thing, and then obviously connect it to the rockwork here, and then bring it back a little bit more so that when you look into the tunnel, you just see the walls. You don't see like all this off-colored plate and like the actual like wall of the room. So there's a lot of work to do here, but I also will need to end up redoing the bridge, I think, just to kind of make it make sense, I guess, because as it stands right now, the bridge should start here, and then I could kind of build like a light gray platform just from these 2 bricks all the way through to the other side, and then the bridge can sit on that, and then I can move all this down 2 bricks, and then that should be fine. So that's what I'm kind of working with right now. I do think I'm going to end up running with this design here, and then maybe, since I only have 4 of these arches on hand, I might try and see if I can put some of these behind it as well. I know it's not a perfect match, but the clearance of the train does work, so I might end up doing that, but I'm just going to worry about the bottom section right now, and then I'm going to work my way up. All right, so what I'm doing right now is I ripped up a bunch of the water here and also the underlying plate, and I'm adding in some bricks to also help coincide with the train tunnel here. So I think this is actually starting to turn out pretty good here. This is going to sit like that, and then obviously the ballast will continue on this. I'm just going to have to place 1x2 plates in between each of these, but that's not a problem. I just need to probably end up mills plating where this blue brick is and also where the rest of these gaps are in here. And yeah, I think this looks pretty good. I did have to shorten the bridge by 2 studs, and so now the math actually works out. So where I can have a stack of 1x1 bricks, a panel, stack of 1x2 bricks, a panel, etc., all the way down to the end. And I only use 6 panels on each side. And so now, as you guys can see, both sides are in the proper colors. These placeholders are no longer needed. So that's actually pretty cool. I wasn't expecting to have to redo the bridge so soon, since I literally just did it last week. So I'm going to put that video in the top right if you want to see a more in-depth process of how I did this, but here's a quick look at the underside, and I do think that this looks pretty cool. It is pretty structurally stable as well, which is nice, and so I did test it in that other video, and trains can ride over this without a problem, which is nice. And so now what I'm doing, like I said, is just filling in this area here. I didn't touch anything down at that end. This was just kind of a idea of building upside down, but I didn't end up using that. So I think the simple arches are better than the more complicated thing that I was doing where I was going upside down and all that stuff. So this is also, it wouldn't look good at this seam right here. So I think sticking to just bricks on top of bricks is probably the way to go. And so that's probably the way that I'm going to keep it. And yeah, so that's pretty much it here. The bridge is still the same. I do need to get another couple 1x2 plates to swap out for this rail here because the rail will not fit on top of studs. So that's why those tiles aren't back on yet. But other than that, this is shaping up to be pretty good. So let me continue working on this area a little bit, and I'll give you a progress update when I've made more progress. And so actually, before I get carried away and I finish building the rest of this, I did put the water tiles in, and I wanted to show you guys this little corner here. It is a little dark over here, but I think this looks pretty good. Like the rocks are kind of curving around a little bit, and then they're meeting up with the, I guess this would be concrete here. So I think this looks pretty good. And then you have the nice little bit of sand down here, which turns into rocks over here. And then it turns back into sand on the other side here. And I'm pretty happy with this. I do think it looks pretty good. And so this is just all I wanted to show you guys, this little corner here, because I don't believe I showed that in the last clip. So I just need to grab 3 more 1x1 tiles, and then I can work on this area here, put the train bridge in, and then start building the tunnel up. All right, so I've been pretty busy, and like I said, I did the mills plate back here to line up with these 2 bricks on either side here, so it all looks cohesive here. And I did tile it off in here, and then in order to, I didn't have 2 1x2 plates, so I just had to, in order to get this connected into here, I needed to use 2x2 plates, and then I just kind of went like that. But I don't think that looks that bad, honestly. I think it gives it a little bit of detail. As for what that would be exactly, I don't know. But I did this side first because I only have the 1 stud to work with. And then I pretty much just mirrored it on this side here. And this doesn't really look right to me. And I kind of sat here for a little while questioning why it didn't look right. But I realized that the other train tunnel is 2 bricks wide. So I think what I'm going to do is probably rip this. I'm actually going to think about it for a little bit because head on it doesn't look terrible. I mean, I would love to have it 2 bricks on either side, but that's just not possible because that's the edge of the base plate. And so I would also really like to make this 2 bricks wide, but then it's going to be asymmetrical, and I don't know how that's going to look. I don't think I'm going to like that. So I might just stick with the 1 for now and then kind of start building up the rock work here and continue that on the next base plate. And it's going to be pretty steep here, I'm thinking, just so that it meets up with the train tunnel pretty quickly. And yeah, I'm going to have to like rip all this out, obviously. But that is probably up next on my agenda here, except like I said, I only have 4 of these arches, so I can't finish the tunnel, but I can put the plate work in and then kind of connect it all together instead of having these two separate sections here. So I'm probably going to like just connect that together and then go ahead and start doing the rock work, because I have no idea how that's going to look, because I can't fit this base plate, the curve, and the other base plate that's next to it that has most of the mountain on it. I can't fit all three of those on here. So what I think I'm going to do is just do this one and the one with the curve on it, and then I'll put them next to each other and kind of blend that together. And then I'm going to bring over the others, the other base plate that has most of the mountain on it, and then I'm going to make sure that everything lines up, and hopefully it'll all look really good. Okay, so ignore the disaster in the background here, but this is kind of what I'm working on here. I did connect this up top here, and so this is pretty sturdy. These holes on either side are just because I don't have the extra arches, like I said. So, and I did leave it at the 1 brick thick. I think it's fine, honestly. I think I'd rather have it look like this than be asymmetrical. So I'm just going to leave it as it is for now. And then I'm just going to focus on the rock work for the rest of the video, I think. And so this is what I've got so far. I went all the way to the back of the base plate for pretty much all of it here. And unfortunately, this stuff down here just couldn't get very far. So I'm going to have to compensate for that on the base plate behind it, but that should be fine. I'm going to place this in the city first because I want to see how this looks up against the other mountain face. So I want to just make sure that this is good before I really commit to going anything past this, because if I have to redo this, I would rather check now as opposed to later. So, but I think this looks pretty good. It is pretty steep, which was my goal. I'm mostly just using the 2x2x3 slope on the right there, and I did not add all of the supports in yet, so this is pretty fragile, but that will be added once I know where everything is going to go. And so once I place this in the city, I'll film a quick clip for you guys, and then I'll come back, make any adjustments that need to be made, and then I'll move on. Okay, so this is the base plate placed into the city here, and this actually is the only spot that I've found that needs to be reworked. Everything else is actually looking pretty good. This surprisingly lined up here, which I'm happy about, and I think it looks pretty cohesive with the rest of it. So I'm pretty happy with that. I do also want to go back in here and make that a little bit better as well, but I could always just rip this off of this base plate here and rework that, so that's not a problem. But other than that, I'm pretty happy with this, and I think it looks good. So let me bring this base plate back to the build table and solidify everything into place. All right, so I went ahead and I placed a bunch of supports in here. I have so many of these 1x1 orange plates and the 1x1 white studs, so that's just what I've been using down here because it's not super high off the ground, and I'm saving all of the bigger support pieces and Duplo for this other base plate here, as well as this area over here as well. But I actually think this looks pretty good. I did make a slight modification in here, but I do need to just add one more plate in there to finish it off. But I am pretty happy with this. And so on that note, that is going to wrap up today's video. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you liked what I did, make sure to like the video and subscribe, as well as click the bell notification so you don't miss any future uploads. If you guys have any feedback for me on the train tunnel here, as well as the start of the other section of the mountain, make sure to drop a comment down below. And once again, thank you guys for watching, and I hope to see you next time. Bye for now.